and out of people's faces. I was kicked out of so many rooms.
Oh, man.
So many rooms. Like, would you just be quiet? Get out. Get out. But I'm the youngest of 6 boys, and none of my brothers were allowed to touch me.
Yeah.
So I was the most aggravating child that probably walked the face of the earth. So I understand the parents at the mall when you want to punch them in the stomach. I understand. I totally understand. I was that kid. I was totally that kid. But actually, when it really got formalized, I would have to thank my best friend DJ T, Terry Yancey, who probably got sick and tired of me just being corny with him and cracking jokes, and he is actually part of the rap group Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, who's now the Funk Bees. So thank you to the Funk Bees, DJ T, even Carlos and Silos is what we call them, Hector and Scott and Ashy Ace in the house. But I was going with him to practice one day, and we saw the doorway of an office in the building of a gentleman who would eventually become my first agent. And he had a sign on his door that said "Comedy at the Cantab," the Cantab Lounge in Cambridge. And my buddy said, "You got to go in. You got to check it out. I'll be down the hall." And pretty much the rest is history. I don't think I ever made it down the hall. I sat and I talked to this guy, Jerry, for about 3 hours about comedy. And like 2 weekends later, I was doing comedy in the basement at the Cantab Lounge for the first time. And I had about 7 minutes of material. And to tell you how long ago it was, my first joke was about Clarence Thomas and Anita Hill. That's how I got started.
Now, you started in the Cantab, so
the world famous Cantab Lounge.
The world famous. Is Tabb your real last name?
There's no relation there. I mean, there's no I'm like the Tabb, but with an extra B, like not the pink can, not the Cantab. No, I'm the original. I'm the double
the
B.
original. Okay.
Yeah. TA basketball. That's me. TABB. But no relation to the owners of the Cantab. So Edward Cantab, if you're out there, you either owe me a check or no. There's no relation.
That's funny. Oh man. And aside from comedy, we're going to get back to it a little later in the show, but you have your own late night show as well called The Chris Tabb Show.
The genius of just naming it was incredible. But yes, the Chris Tabb Show is a talk and variety show, and what can I say? I'm so proud of it. From where it started to where it's come to now. We've had great guests on the show, so it's talk and variety. So we've had escape artists on the show. We've had a pie eating contest on the show. And on the other side of things, we've just had great guests, Slim Goodbody. We've had Ernie Bach Jr., Lori Grandy, Romero from Jammin' 94.5, Coach Willie May, who was tremendous and came down and helped us out. So so many artists, Athene Wilson, and just singers and rappers. One of my favorite guys, Oak Lone Tree, came through on the show, a great rapper from Waltham. Tashawn King came and sang, who I've been friends with for I think over 15 years now, who's an incredible R&B singer. So there's really no limits on the show. We've had a championship table tennis ping pong match in the studio. Yeah, where I had the youngest U.S. champion ever. He was 14 when he won the title, and I had the oldest U.S. champion. I think he was 76.
Really?
Yeah, and I ended up beating somebody to death with the paddle, but it made a great YouTube moment. I'll tell you that. Check for it out there somewhere until the charges are still pending. But it was a great show, and I just have such a good time doing the show. We're on hiatus right now as we work a new deal, new situation, so everybody in New England will be able to see the Chris Tabb Show very, very soon.
And when did you start the Chris Tabb Show, and what made you want to get into TV?
Well, I think I've been doing it for about 3 years now, a little over 3 years, and I don't know. It was I just feel like it was a natural progression for me. sitting behind the desk and doing what you do. You do a tremendous job at it.
Oh, thank you.
So I decided to throw my hat in and try it. But I knew it. I needed a little bit more. And some of my idols have been the Jay Lenos and the Johnny Carsons and the Jack Parrs of the world, who have had these great talk show careers and opened so many other doors. So I obviously enjoy talking. So it seemed like a natural progression and something to do when I wasn't on stage. Don't get me wrong. I first love is always going to be stand-up. Being live on stage is just something about it that I don't think I'll ever be able to stop.
So your show was it's not Cambridge Access, is it? Or
No, well, we tape in a studio in Cambridge, but we outgrew that studio because of all the different types of shows. I tell you, we had a band in at one time, and so we kind of outgrew that studio. And my producer and I, Alan Shostak, knew that it was probably time to do something different, but we were kind of outgrowing it and feeling like we had a pretty good grasp on what we were doing. So we decided to grow it, and we're moving onward and upward to this new deal. So I'm pretty excited about it.
That's great. Now I'm gonna dive into I have a segment, and since you're a host as well, I'm gonna give you the segment where we reverse role play, and you can interview me for like a minute or two.
Okay.
Since you are Chris Tabb, so
Yeah.
as I was coming on your show, say how would you introduce me, and a few of the questions you would give me.
Ladies and gentlemen, my next guest, it really needs no introductions. He's done over 100 shows, and he has probably had on every comedian in the area. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for my good friend, talk show host, Sean Hansen! No, that's Johnny. But some music would play, and there would be confetti, maybe a couple of dancing girls.
Oh, wow.
And so you'd sit down in the hot seat, and I just dig right in. I go right in. So, when are you going to take back those library books?
Man,
Since you were 6, library, come on, Sean. Come on.
I'd figured I'd give it 30 years, so I'll take it back when I'm 36.
The fees on those things are ridiculous right now, I got to tell you. But Sean, do you do stand-up?
I do not do stand-up.
Wow.
I sit down behind the desk and I ask my guests about their stand-up.
So, but obviously you have an interest in stand-up because the name of your show is Sean Hansen's Comedy Corner.
Yep.
Right.
I have an interest. I've been doing this since August 2009.
Wow.
And this show in particular since this past February.
So you have this deep-seated interest in stand-up. Yep. It's probably a hair away from stalking, but we'll give you that. And but you've never taken the stage yourself.
Never taken the stage, just taken the seat.
Wow. Any interest in doing that?
Maybe someday, but my aspirations are to become a broadcaster one day and to...
Well, you are a broadcaster. You got your own thing going here. Look, there must be like one other person in here. I mean, this is ridiculous.
1,000 other persons.
This is huge right now. I can barely find a place. There's a line around the building.
He was so excited. You forgot 1,000.
Thousands.
Yeah, 1,000 people. and maybe more, too, because it's broadcasted in Serbia, too.
Right.
And all around the world.
This is probably going to be your biggest audience to date. Show 102. Sean Hansen's Comedy Corner. The Comedy Corner.
So, you've done a few different voices. When you're on stage, do you do different impressions and so forth?
I wouldn't call it as much. No, impressionism isn't my shtick, if you would call it. My style is a little bit observational, physical, very silly. So I just go with what feels good. They say good comedy comes from the heart, and those are the topics that I'm feeling at the moment. And I still think I'm only scratching the surface. I'm still learning as a stand-up, and I want to continue to learn and grow and mature. So that's why I like working with bigger and better and people that I respect in the business, because I want to learn and grow from those folks.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I will say the one thing you will get is at a Chris Tabb show if I'm performing is 110%. I'm always going to give you 110%. You know, I